President Biden has signed into law the American Rescue Plan, and some 4-state businesses plan to use the extended benefits.
President Biden sets a goal of getting the nation closer to normal by July. I'm Natalie Brand at the White House with what the administration says it's doing to speed up vaccinations.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Billions in federal fundings approved for businesses impacted by the pandemic. This is KOAM News at 5. The American Rescue Plan was signed by President Biden, approving $1.9 trillion in COVID relief. That includes more than $7 billion in additional funds for the Paycheck Protection Program. That program provides forgivable loans to small businesses impacted by the pandemic, something that was started last year with the CARES Act. The owner of Hometown Pub in Fort Scott, Kansas, was able to take advantage of it previously, but says getting more help would be a good thing.
You know, whatever can help keep you operating. Things are just so tough on small businesses right now. People are still scared. You know, they're not getting out like they were before. They're starting to come back, but we still got a ways to go.
The COVID relief package also created a grant program specifically for restaurants. We're going to hear more about that tonight at 6. Authorities in Arkansas recovered the body of a man suspected of killing his mother in Vernon County, Missouri. A citizen found the body of Aaron Goodwin in a wooded area outside of Hot Springs, Arkansas, nearly 5 months after Goodwin was named the sole suspect in the Missouri murder case. Now, back in October, law officers found the decapitated body of Goodwin's mother, 63-year-old Connie Goodwin, in her Vernon County, Missouri home. Later that same day, police recovered the victim's head from the back of a truck in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Through surveillance video, they discovered it had been put in the truck at a Hot Springs hotel the night before. Investigators say they had information indicating Aaron Goodwin might have committed suicide in a wooded area, but until they discovered his body, authorities had considered him at large. Authorities in Lawrence County, Missouri identify a woman who was killed by oncoming traffic on I-44. The sheriff's office says the woman was killed on March 6th when she ran into traffic and was hit by a vehicle. They now say the woman had been missing from northern Missouri. Authorities have not released her name. Nick Kelly joins us now with a first look at the weather.
Good evening, Dow. We've been keeping an eye on rain that we've been seeing ever since Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, and more rain still on the way. We already have a string of flood warnings taking us until Saturday noon tomorrow for our northern counties. Everyone else is under a flood or a flash flood watch because of the rain again that we've seen so far this week. Rain still out there on the radar network, maybe a couple of thunderstorms between Girard and Fort Scott, but because of rain still on the way as our main storm system starts to spawn some severe weather out across parts of Texas and really wants to ramp up some snow this weekend across parts of the Rockies. Around here, the clouds and the rains have kept us cool, most of us in the upper 40s and lower 50s. We'll break down how this weekend is shaping up coming here in just a bit, Dow.
All right, we'll see you then. Kansas City Veterans Affairs Center will host first-dose COVID-19 vaccine clinics throughout the area until March 15th. Today, they held a clinic at Cotty College in Nevada. The event was for veterans of all ages. Christy Mears with Kansas City Veterans Affairs explains how their vaccine rollout differs from the states.
And so we were able to get our allotments of vaccine through the VA, basically central office. And so they've allotted so much to every medical center and network of hospitals, and then we divide it out amongst our groups.
She says that although the VA has had a different rollout than the state of Missouri, they're using similar priority groups. Because they've already vaccinated all of their priority groups, any eligible veteran can call and make an appointment. The president and members of his party today gathered at the White House to celebrate the first signature achievement of the Biden presidency, the American Rescue Plan. Meanwhile, the Biden administration is ramping up efforts to get Americans vaccinated, while setting a timeline for when the nation might get back closer to normal. Natalie Brand is at the White House with more.
President Biden and congressional Democrats held a Rose Garden ceremony to tout the American Rescue Plan, one day after the massive $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill was signed into law.
What you shepherded through the Congress not only meets the moment, it does even more. It's historical, and they call it transformational.
The White House says direct deposit stimulus payments could begin hitting bank accounts as soon as this weekend.
Help has arrived for the families that have struggled to put food on their table.
But some of the other benefits, such as the expanded child tax credit, won't be implemented until the summer. This week, the president set a goal to get the U.S. on a path of close to normal by July 4th, which included a directive that states make all adults eligible for the coronavirus vaccine by May 1st.
Some states will move faster than others, and we certainly anticipate that.
The Biden administration aims to more than double the number of federally run mass vaccination centers around the country, while also increasing the number of pharmacies and healthcare centers where people can get vaccines. The administration is also expanding the pool of health professionals authorized to administer shots.
This list now includes dentists, optometrists, paramedics, physician assistants, and many more.
The White House also says it will launch a federally supported website and call center to make it easier for Americans to schedule appointments to get vaccinated. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
Earlier this week, Alaska became the first state to open eligibility for the COVID vaccine to all people 16 and older. Michigan today announced it'll do so beginning on March 22nd. The White House COVID response team also announced that FEMA will help put up a new federally supported mass vaccination site in Detroit. The city of Minneapolis today agreed to pay $27 million to settle a civil lawsuit from George Floyd's family over his death in police custody. The record settlement includes $500,000 for the neighborhood where Floyd was arrested. The announcement comes as jurors are being selected in the trial of Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer who pressed his knee against Floyd's neck for about 9 minutes. A little bit later, the increase in fatal crashes.
The number of driving deaths in the U.S. is skyrocketing. I'm Michael George with why experts say the numbers are going up, even though there are less drivers on the road.
And next in Health Watch, a look at the pandemic's toll on the mental health of Americans. Several European countries are suspending use of AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine following alarming reports. Denmark, Norway, and Iceland all say they are temporarily halting use of the vaccine following reports of blood clots after the shot. Earlier this week, Austria said it was suspending use, and a European medical agency has kicked off an investigation into that vaccine. Close to 600,000 people will die of COVID-19 in the U.S. by July 1st. That's according to a new model from the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation at the University of Washington. The Institute's new projection is more than 22,000 deaths higher than its forecast just over the weekend. The team says it increased the projection because of declining mask usage in many states and more people being out and about in public. They're also trying to account for the circulation of more contagious virus variants. Americans have encountered some of the biggest challenges of their lives, coping with high levels of stress made worse by grief, isolation, and financial troubles. Reporter Nancy Chen shows us the toll COVID is taking on our mental health.
Sujin Ceballos began journaling to cope with her increasing anxiety as the pandemic started.
And just really gather my thoughts and just put on the paper whatever it is that I'm feeling.
A new survey from the American Psychological Association shows Americans are experiencing unprecedented stress in the pandemic.
We have adapted over the course of the pandemic. What the survey is showing, though, is that some of our adaptation has been unhealthy.
61% of adults have experienced undesired weight changes. 42% report gaining weight, an average of 29 pounds. 67% are sleeping more or less than they'd like to. 23% are drinking more alcohol.
The new survey also highlights the toll the pandemic has taken on parents with school-age children.
47% of mothers and 30% of fathers with children learning remotely say their mental health has gotten worse. Dr. Arthur Evans of the APA says communities of color are also being impacted during the pandemic.
Both for Hispanics and for African Americans, that they had elevated levels of stress in certain areas, particularly when it came to thinking about the future.
Dr. Evans warns that this country needs to act now for mental health.
We need to shift from a system and an approach that waits until people are in crisis to a process where we are not only dealing with crises, but we're helping people today to mitigate the stress.
Ceballos hopes more people find their outlet.
I write about what I'm feeling overwhelmed about and how I could approach it the next day to make it better.
Especially during these trying times. Nancy Chen, CBS News.
Study also found that Americans are uncertain about the future, with 49% saying they're uneasy about adjusting to interacting again in person once the pandemic ends. New study out of Europe finds women with chest pain are more likely than men to have their symptoms misdiagnosed. Female patients often attribute their symptoms to stress or anxiety when they could signal a heart attack. And a new study in the journal Human Reproduction finds more twins are being born worldwide than ever before. Since the 1980s, more than 1 million twins have been born each year globally due in part to IVF, artificial insemination, and delays in childbearing. Nick Kelly is up next with his complete forecast, and a little bit later, the U.S. Treasury Secretary gives a timeline for when the latest stimulus checks will start to be sent out.
The rain continues. We've seen a kick in the gear ever since we started the middle of the week, and these are rain chances that want to stick around for a little while longer before we'll finally see things clear out as we go into next week. In the meantime, though, we continue to see scattered rain, but rain nonetheless fire up on top of the area and work on through. And just today alone, on the average across the entire area, ½ an inch of rain based on radar estimates for today. But needless to say, northern counties seeing quite a bit more than ½ an inch. But ever since Tuesday, we've seen radar estimates suggesting rain amounts between 1 to 4, if not 5 inches of rain. And we're not done just yet. The rain that we've seen already has already triggered a string of flood warnings, aerial flood warnings, from our northern counties on the Kansas side along US 54, including Neosho County, back to the northern sides of Stockton Lake until we go into Saturday. Everyone else, though, still under either a flood or a flash flood watch because of more rain on the way. At least right now, nothing too terrible out there. Light to moderate rain in and southwest of Nevada, and then working back down to about Girard and the far northern sides of Pittsburgh. But these are rain chances that'll ramp up once again as we go through the rest of the night. Cloudy, you can argue almost drizzly with our look on top of the station's rooftop back toward Joplin. 48 at Joplin Regional. A northeast breeze at 9, gusting to 21 makes it feel like 44 outside. Everyone else, if you saw a lot of cloud cover and rain during the day, you're still mainly in the upper 40s to near 50, but more lower to middle 50s once you hop south of the Interstate 44 corridor. And temperatures, I think, are going to hold steady during the rest of the evening. Near 50 for the rest of the evening. And then I think most of us will drop back into the upper 40s tonight. So we are not done with this system just yet. The same system that's going to try and spawn some severe weather in the Texas Panhandle and a big snowstorm, especially across much of Colorado. It's all because of the storm system that keeps giving us many rain chances to contend with. Not only the cold front at the surface, but also this monster upper low finally working across the desert southwest. This is what's going to really drive more rain chances as we continue through the overnight into Saturday morning. I think we can get by during the day Saturday on a dry note, thankfully, but that upper low wants to push that cold front our way come Sunday morning. I don't think this is going to be anything severe, but we can't rule out more heavy rain, maybe some strong thunderstorms as we continue through Sunday before we dry things out by Monday. But all this rain on the way could bring another 1 to 4 inches of rain our way before we dry things out by Monday. So during the overnight, we'll continue with rain chances and cloudy skies as well. Then we'll see if we can at least get a break in the action during the day tomorrow. So as far as the day planner goes, 49 in the morning with rain chances to start the day, 59 by noon, highs around 63. I think we're mostly okay during Saturday evening, but then that cold front works in on Sunday. That's when I'll watch for additional thunderstorms to start Sunday morning out, and we'll see if we can get highs near 62. 63, some morning showers on Monday. Dry, thankfully, on Tuesday with highs near 68. Then sticking with Doug's pattern down, we'll watch for another storm system to bring in some thunderstorms on actually St. Patrick's Day by Wednesday.
That could add up to a lot of rainfall over the coming days.
Yeah, something we'll keep a very close eye on this weekend.
Sure you will. Thanks, Nick. Coming up, new research shows deadly vehicle accidents have gone up during the pandemic. First, though, we honor a local veteran. Tom Thiel served in the U.S. Army in 1970 and 71. The Columbus, Kansas native was stationed in Vietnam, and we salute Captain Tom Thiel, our four-state hero. Keep an eye on your bank account this weekend. That's when Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says the first wave of new stimulus checks will go out. People who make $75,000 or less are eligible to receive the $1,400. Married couples who make less than $150,000 can expect to get $2,800. While the pandemic kept Americans at home, the number of miles driven in the U.S. dropped 13%. Safety experts hoped that would mean a silver lining of fewer deadly accidents. But as Michael George reports, it was exactly the opposite.
Police say the driver may have been drag racing before this deadly crash on a Los Angeles highway. Near Boston, 2 teenagers died last year when their speeding pickup truck lost control. Even as the pandemic emptied roads, the number of deadly crashes spiked.
We knew 2020 was going to be bad because of the trend lines we had seen, but we didn't realize it would be this bad.
Preliminary estimates from the National Safety Council show more than 42,000 motor vehicle deaths in 2020. That's up 8% from the year before and marks a 13-year high. With fewer cars on the roads, drivers got reckless, while police begged for caution.
We are imploring drivers on the streets of Los Angeles, please slow down.
We took open roads as an open invitation to speed, drive recklessly. There are reports in some states of increases of impaired driving.
In addition to the spike in death rates, 4.8 million people were seriously injured in crashes last year. Safety experts are calling for action.
Instead of raising speed limits, we really should be thinking about either keeping them what they are or lowering them. We need seatbelt laws, and then we need distracted driving laws.
Texas was at the top of the list with nearly 3,900 driving deaths last year. The numbers reveal that during the worst public health crisis in a century, there was also a crisis on the roads. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
8 states showed a more than 15% increase in the estimated number of deaths, including Arkansas, South Dakota, and Vermont. Employees are weighing in on what they want to see the workplace look like next. According to a new Glassdoor-Harris poll, 70% of employees believe that a COVID-19 vaccine should be required before they're called back. And 2/3 of workers say employers should offer vaccine incentives like bonuses. But 86% of workers say they'd prefer to keep working from home in some capacity. Netflix may be cracking down on password sharing. The website Streamable reports the streaming giant will prompt some viewers to sign up with a new account if they aren't watching with the paying user. An email or text will be sent to verify who is watching. Various surveys found about 1/3 of users share their password. Final check of the forecast next. The CBS Evening News is next. Then on KOAM News at 6, we're going to have more about the vaccination clinics for veterans being offered in Missouri. Plus, an Oklahoma prosecutor sues the state's governor over his and the Pardon Parole Board's handling of sentence commutation considerations. And Webb City teachers receive a stipend for all the extra work they've put in over the past year. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. All right, let's check back with Nick now for a final look at the weather.
Some of us are getting a break in the rain now, but we'll see the rain chances ramp back up tonight into tomorrow morning. Hopefully a break in the action for most tomorrow afternoon with highs near 63. Then I'll watch for additional rain chances Sunday and Monday. A break on Tuesday before another system by St. Patrick's Day. Plenty of rain chances lined up in the forecast now, but we'll break it down once again coming up at 6.
Thanks, Nick, and thank you for joining us. CBS Evening News is next. Of course, we're going to be right back here for KOAM News at 6. In the meantime, let's take care of ourselves and each other.